Have you ever noticed this?
You wake up in the morning.
You reach for your phone or glance at the clock. And for a few moments, the numbers don't look quite right. They're not completely blurry.
Just soft.
Faded around the edges.
You rub your eyes. You blink a few times.
And eventually, things come into focus. Most people over 60 shrug it off and think, well, that's just getting older. But what if I told you that moment, those first few minutes in the morning, are actually giving you a message about what didn't happen to your eyes last night? Because here's something almost no one talks about.
Your eyes don't shut down when you sleep. They don't rest the way we imagine.
In fact, nighttime is when your eyes are supposed to repair themselves, restore moisture, clear waste, rebuild delicate cells, and prepare you for the next day. And if that process doesn't happen properly,
you feel it the moment you wake up. The dryness, the fog,
the sensitivity to light, the sense that your eyes need time to warm up before they can serve you. For years, we've been told that vision decline after a certain age is inevitable. That blurry mornings, scratchy eyes, or night glare are just part of the deal. But after working with thousands of adults in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, I've seen something very different. I've seen people who didn't change their glasses,
didn't use eye drops, didn't take medication.
They simply gave their eyes the right support at the most important time of all,
the hour before sleep.
And when they did, mornings changed.
Not overnight miracles, not perfect vision, but clearer starts, calmer eyes, less strain,
and a feeling that their eyes were finally working with them again. So if you've ever woken up and thought, why do my eyes feel tired before the day even begins?
Stay with me.
Because tonight, I want to show you how small, simple choices before bed can quietly support your eyes while you sleep, and help you wake up seeing the morning a little more clearly. For a long time, we've been taught to think about our eyes only when something goes wrong.
When the prescription changes. When the letters get smaller.
When the doctor says, we'll keep an eye on it. But very few people are ever told how the eyes are meant to take care of themselves, especially later in life.
Here is the truth.
Aging doesn't suddenly make your eyes stop working. What it does is make the repair process less efficient. Think of your eyes like a small repair workshop that runs overnight. During the day, they're exposed to light, screens, glare, dust, and dryness. By evening, tiny amounts of wear and tear have built up inside the retina, the optic nerve, and the delicate surface that keeps your eyes moist and comfortable. Nighttime is when your body is supposed to clean that up. Blood flow brings nutrients. Waste products are cleared away. Cells replace what's been worn down. But after 55 or 60, a few quiet changes start to interfere with that process. The tiny blood vessels that feed your eyes become narrower and stiffer. Fluid balance inside the eye becomes harder to regulate. Cell membranes lose flexibility. And protective antioxidants don't reach the retina as easily as they once did. None of this causes pain. None of it feels dramatic. It just shows up as slower mornings. And here's where most people misunderstand what's happening. They assume the problem is the eye itself. But very often, the problem is support. Your eyes are still trying to repair. They just don't have the right conditions anymore. It's a bit like trying to renovate a house at night. When the roads are partially blocked, the materials arrive late, and there's no security watching over the work.
The crew is there. The intention is there.
But the results are limited. Now, here's the part that surprises many people. This isn't something that requires complicated routines
or expensive supplements.
In many cases, it comes down to what your body receives
in the final hour before sleep.
Because that window, right before bed, is when your nervous system slows down,
your digestion shifts,
and your body decides what gets repaired overnight
and what gets postponed.
And for your eyes, that timing matters more than most people realize. To support overnight eye repair, the body needs three things. First, it needs open, flexible pathways, so nutrients can actually reach the retina. Second, it needs protection, a way to shield delicate eye cells from oxidative stress while they're being rebuilt. And third, it needs raw materials, the fats, minerals, and hydration that help restore moisture, comfort, and clarity. Miss one of those, and the whole process becomes weaker. But when all three are present, something subtle yet meaningful begins to change. People start noticing that their eyes don't feel as dry in the morning, that the fog lifts faster, That bright light feels less harsh. That they don't need as much time for their vision to catch up. Not because they reversed aging, but because they finally supported the part of aging
that still wants to heal.
In the next few minutes, I want to walk you through how to gently support each of these three needs. Not with medication,
Not with drops.
but with simple, familiar foods. Used at the right time.
No pressure. No extremes.
Just small choices that work with your body, instead of against it. Let's start with the first piece. The one most people overlook. Clearing the path so your eyes can actually receive what they need while you sleep. Before we talk about protecting your eyes, before we talk about rebuilding anything, we need to talk about access. Because even the best nutrients in the world
Can tea help your eyes?
if they never arrive where they're needed. Behind your eyes is a delicate network of microscopic blood vessels. These tiny pathways are responsible for delivering oxygen, minerals, and protective compounds to the retina, the part of your eye that turns light into vision. When you're younger, that system works quietly and efficiently. But as the years go by, those vessels lose some of their flexibility. They don't open and close as smoothly.
Blood moves a little slower.
Fluid doesn't drain as easily overnight.
You don't feel this happening.
What you feel is the result. Eyes that seem puffy in the morning.
A mild pressure behind the eyes.
Vision that feels slightly off until you've been awake for a while. Many people assume this means their eyes are failing. In reality, it often means the delivery system is struggling. This is why supporting circulation and fluid balance at night is the first and most overlooked step in caring for aging eyes. And here's the encouraging part.
You don't need stimulants.
You don't need aggressive detoxes. In fact, the eyes respond best to gentle, steady support. Certain whole foods, when eaten in small amounts before bed, help keep these tiny vessels more flexible, support natural fluid movement, and reduce the pressure that tends to build up overnight. One woman I worked with, she was 64, described her mornings as feeling like
Wearing a thin film over my eyes. No pain.
no diagnosis.
Just a dull heaviness.
We didn't change her glasses.
We didn't add drops.
Instead, we focused on giving her body a small amount of specific nutrients in the hour before sleep. Nutrients known to support capillary health
And mineral balance.
After a couple of weeks, she told me something interesting. It's not that my vision suddenly became perfect, she said.
It's that I don't notice my eyes anymore when I wake up.
That's often the first sign things are moving in the right direction. Because when circulation improves and fluid pressure settles, the eyes don't have to work as hard just to feel normal. This step alone doesn't rebuild the eyes. It doesn't protect them from everything. But it does something essential. It opens the door. It allows whatever nourishment comes next to actually reach the retina while your body is in repair mode. And once that path is clear, we can move on to the second piece. Protecting those delicate eye cells from the silent damage that accumulates overnight. Once the pathways are open, something else becomes just as important.
Protection.
Because repair by itself isn't enough. If delicate eye cells are being stressed at the same time, here's what most people don't realize. Even with your eyes closed, your retina is still working.
It's processing the visual information from the day.
Rebuilding light-sensitive proteins and adjusting to changes in brightness for the next morning. All of that activity creates oxidative stress. Tiny sparks of cellular where that build up quietly overnight. When you're younger, your body neutralizes that stress easily. But as we age, those defenses weaken. That's when people begin to notice things like increased glare from headlights, difficulty adjusting to low light, or a sense that their eyes feel tired, even after a full night's sleep. This isn't because the eyes are worn out. It's because they're being repaired.
Without enough protection.
Think of it like fixing a delicate painting. You wouldn't sand and restore it, while leaving the windows open
And the dust blowing in.
Yet that's exactly what happens.
When the retina doesn't get enough antioxidant support at night. Certain nutrients act like a quiet shield.
They settle into the fatty layers of eye cells and help absorb the stress before it can cause damage. And when these nutrients come from whole foods, they're absorbed more gently, more steadily, and in a way the body recognizes. One man I worked with, 70 years old, told me that daytime vision wasn't his problem. It's driving at night, he said. The glare just overwhelms me. Instead of focusing on stronger lenses, we focused on strengthening his eyes' natural filters.
Within a few weeks, he noticed that
headlights didn't feel as harsh, and his eyes didn't feel as strained afterward.
Not because the world got darker,
but because his eyes were better protected. There's another layer to this protection. That's especially important before bed.
Some foods don't just support the eyes.
They also support your sleep rhythm. They gently signal the brain that it's time to slow down, helping you enter deeper, more restorative sleep.
And deeper sleep matters.
Because the more uninterrupted your sleep is,
the more time your eyes have
to complete their repair work. This is where eye health and sleep health intersect. When people struggle with night glare, dryness, or fatigue, it's often not just an eye issue. It's a recovery issue. By supporting both protection and rest, you create a safer environment
for your eyes to heal. At this point, we've cleared the path.
We've added a protective layer. The eyes are now better supplied
and better shielded.
But there's still one more piece missing. Because protection prevents damage, it doesn't rebuild what time has already worn down. For that, the body needs something else entirely. It needs raw materials. And that's where the final step comes in. Restoring moisture, flexibility, and comfort.
From the inside out.
Protection keeps damage from getting worse. But it doesn't restore what time has already thinned out. And for many people over 60,
this is where eye discomfort truly begins. Not with sharp pain,
not with sudden vision loss,
but with dryness. A gritty feeling.
Eyes that feel tight, tired, or irritated.
The moment you wake up.
Most people assume this means they need more eye drops. But dryness doesn't start on the surface.
It starts deeper.
As we age, the delicate membranes of eye cells
become less flexible.
The tiny glands that produce tears don't receive the same nourishment they once did. And the eye loses its ability to hold moisture overnight. So even if you drink enough water during the day,
your eyes may still wake up dry.
To change that, the body needs rebuilding materials. Healthy fats that restore cell membranes, minerals that support nerve signaling, and hydration that lasts through the night. Not just for an hour or two. Some whole foods do this in a very quiet way.
They don't stimulate. They don't spike blood sugar.
They gently slow digestion, help the body retain fluids, and provide the essential fats that eye tissues rely on. One woman I worked with, 66 years old, told me she woke up every morning with eyes that felt tight, like they'd been open all night. She was drinking plenty of water. She was doing everything right. What she was missing was support at the cellular level. After adding a small amount of the right nutrients
before bed,
she noticed that her eyes felt calmer in the morning.
Notwetter. Calmer.
That's an important difference. Because true eye comfort doesn't come from moisture alone. It comes from tissue that can hold moisture naturally. There's another benefit to this final step that often surprises people. Some of the same nutrients that help rebuild eye cells also support deeper sleep. They help stabilize blood sugar overnight. They support the production of calming neurotransmitters. And they allow the body to stay in repair mode longer.
Without interruption.
That means more time for your eyes to do what they're designed to do. By now, we've addressed 3 essential needs. We've cleared the pathways so nourishment can reach the eyes. We've added protection so delicate cells aren't damaged during repair. And now, we've supplied the raw materials to rebuild comfort, flexibility, and clarity
from the inside out.
What matters most, though, is not any single step by itself. It's how they work together.
And when they're combined
into a simple, consistent evening routine, they create something powerful.
Not a treatment plan. Not a strict program.
But a quiet signal to your body that it's safe to rest, safe to repair,
and safe to restore.
That's what we'll put together next. At this point, you might be wondering how all of this fits into real life.
Because knowing what the eyes need
is one thing. Actually supporting them in a way that feels calm and sustainable
is another.
That's why I don't like to call this a routine. It's better thought of as a ritual.
A short moment at the end of the day,
where nothing is being rushed, nothing is being fixed, and nothing is being forced.
Just a gentle transition. From doing to resting.
It usually begins about an hour before bed.
The house is quieter. The lights are softer.
The day is mostly behind you. Instead of reaching for another screen, you prepare a small, simple combination of foods.
Not a full snack.
Just enough to support overnight repair.
You eat slowly. Without distraction. Without multitasking.
This isn't about nutrients alone. It's about signaling. When you do this consistently, your nervous system begins to recognize the pattern.
Heart rate slows.
Digestion shifts into repair mode. Hormones that support rest and healing begin to rise naturally.
For many people,
this is the first time in years their body feels truly invited to rest. Some like to pair this moment with a warm, caffeine-free tea or a glass of warm water, not because it adds anything essential, but because warmth itself tells the body it's safe to let go. Others sit by a window,
dim the lights,
or take a few slow breaths before heading to bed. There's no perfect version of this ritual. What matters is consistency,
not precision.
You don't need to do it every night. But when your eyes feel tired,
dry,
or strained, this gentle pause can make a difference. Over time, many people notice. They fall asleep a little more easily. They wake up with eyes that feel calmer, less reactive, less irritated by light. Not because they fixed their eyes, but because they finally worked with their body's rhythm. This ritual doesn't demand discipline.
It invites care.
And that's something the body responds to, especially as we age.
In a moment, I'll share
who benefits most from this approach, and who should be a little more cautious. But first, it's important to understand this. You're not trying to reverse time.
You simply giving your eyes the conditions they need
to do what they're still capable of doing.
And that, for many people, is more than enough. Before we close,
there's something important I want to be very clear about. This approach isn't meant to replace medical care. It's not a cure. And it's not about chasing perfect vision.
It's about support.
This gentle night ritual tends to help people the most. If they're noticing things like
morning dryness, mild blurriness when waking up,
light sensitivity, or eyes that simply feel tired more often than they used to. It's especially helpful for adults over 55 who want to stay proactive without jumping straight to medication for every small change they notice. That said, if you have a serious eye condition,
advanced glaucoma,
or specific dietary restrictions, this should always be discussed with your healthcare provider. And if something feels uncomfortable or doesn't suit your body, that's information, not failure. Your body is always communicating with you.
Listening matters.
Now, I want to leave you with this thought. Aging often gets framed as a steady loss. Less energy, less clarity, less control. But what I've seen again and again is that aging is also about timing.
Doing the right things
at the right moment, with a little more care.
Your eyes haven't given up on you.
They're still responding, still adapting, still repairing, as long as the conditions allow.
And sometimes,
those conditions don't come from a prescription. They come from a quiet choice at the end of the day.
A few minutes. A small ritual.
A signal to your body that says, I'm still taking care of myself. When mornings begin to feel calmer,
when your eyes don't demand attention right away,
you'll feel the difference. Not dramatically, not loudly, but gently. If this video gave you something helpful, I'd truly appreciate it if you gave it a like and shared it with someone who might need a reminder that support is still possible. And if you'd like more simple, natural ways to care for your body as you age, consider subscribing. I share insights like this every week.
Not to promise miracles,
but to help you work with your body instead of against it.
Until next time, take care of yourself. Your body is listening.